Wrestling Royalty. I am, of course, Andy, your host for tonight, and I will be flying solo tonight as well. Everyone else was otherwise engaged, and I'm bringing you a chat on a Thursday night instead of a Friday night, as it normally is, because tomorrow night I will be at North Wrestling up in Newcastle. That's our local promotion, and I really wanted to get out and see some live wrestling. So tomorrow night I will be out in North Shields to watch North Wrestling, which has a fantastic card building up there already. So really excited for that. But I didn't want to miss saying hello to everyone. And there's been a big talking point. As you can see by the title, The Rock returned this week on Monday Night Raw. And I know there's going to be some people who are very happy to see that. But what implications does that have for WrestleMania 40? Will it have any implications? We're going to get into it. And we're going to have a quick chat about it. Let me know in the comments as I put the big flash intro up. Are you excited to see The Rock back? And if so, who do you want to see him face? So as I said, we are here tonight to talk about The Rock returning, and what a return it was on Monday night. We were kind of hinted by Triple H. He dropped a couple of hints in the build-up saying that an ex-WWE champion would be in attendance. And he played us a little bit by having Jinder Mahal come out when that was introduced. But if you know anything about wrestling and WWE in particular, you knew there was something else possibly in the pipeline, and it was worth waiting for. And what a reaction it got from, I believe they were in California, in San Diego. So yeah, very interesting. And first of all, hello to the people who are already in and you're watching along. Dean, the ever trusty Dean, to be watching along from Scenescape Shop. As I always say, please go check out his YouTube channel. He's got some fantastic videos that go out every week. He also has plenty of paintings that you can buy for yourself, or maybe you want to treat yourself to a commission and a commission piece. Go check out Dean's YouTube channel, Scenescape Shop. Make sure you subscribe and have a lovely watch along when grab yourself a cup of coffee. Watch the artist at work, hard at work. It's every bit as enjoyable. If you ever watched a Bob Ross painting, Dean's even better than Bob Ross, so go check him out. So yeah, Dean's in, and I know for a fact that Dean is a massive Rock fan, huge Rock fan. So I'm pretty sure he'll be pretty excited to be here. John is in as well. Nice to see you, John. Thank you for joining. I think he might be saying that a little bit tongue in cheek. Good to have John in as well, as always. Dean, I think it's just a way of Rock getting everyone behind Rhodes again. That, or it's R versus R versus R versus Manny versus Manny at Mania. Missed the A off and confused me there. Rock, Rhodes, Reigns to protect Reigns and have Rhodes pin The Rock. We'll get into it. I've got a few kind of different scenarios that we could be looking at, and I'd be interested to hear what you actually want to see. Maybe not just what you think we might see. And he did correct himself, which I didn't see before, so just embarrass myself anyway. John, if we have to have Rock versus Reigns, let's have it at Elimination Chamber, please. So that is obviously a potential, but first of all, really important. No worries, Dean, at all. And as you'll see, if you see him in the chat normally, he will drop in some sort of reference about The Rock or Stone Cold. He's a big Attitude Era guy, in particular those two as well. So on Monday, we did have the return of The Rock, as I said, and he faced off against Jinder Mahal, who was kind of treading on US values and kind of talking down to the crowd about being American. Out comes The Rock. The Rock has a bit of a sort of back and forward with him, sort of doing his usual verbal evisceration. So yeah, it was an interesting sort of person, in my opinion, to have Jinder Mahal be the one that he had that interaction with. I guess it was more for what came before The Rock's entrance, was to kind of like bait and switch, where you kind of had that groan that it was Jinder Mahal. Out of everyone who was available, it was a good shout to try and dampen the expectations and then get people to kind of play along with it a little bit. And also he did a good job working the crowd, Jinder Mahal, as well. He's a very affluent villainous character. So yeah, it was cool to see Jinder Mahal get a little bit of a chance, because that's the sort of thing in the past that I think someone like Elias would have had that spot. We've seen it before where it's like Austin Theory, etc. Obviously, they're not the champions or anything, or ex-champions, whereas Jinder Mahal kind of has that credibility. So it was cool for Jinder to get that spot, even if he didn't have his usual team around him as well. But anyway, The Rock came out to defend the honor of America, as only The Rock can. Very heavy rumors that the whole time went over. The Rock took a lot longer on the mic, but I guess if you are getting that kind of reaction, I think it's important that you let that come across as natural. We can see Tom's in Tom Talk Rubbish, another great YouTube channel, so make sure you go check him out as well. Plenty of interviews. I'm sure he's got a busy 2024 planned as well. Always good to see Tom in, so thank you for joining, mate. But yeah, The Rock then managed to get I think it was just a spine buster in people's elbow. I was quite surprised I didn't see the rock bottom. But obviously, that is a little bit harder to pull off if you've not been out if you've been out for a little while. So he managed to kind of physically beat down Jinder Mahal, and then after that, he grabbed the mic again and explained to the crowd he was going to go out. He wanted something to eat. He was hungry. Should he sit in a booth? Should he sit at the bar? Or should he sit at the head of the table, which got a massive pop from the crowd. I'm talking huge pop, because everyone knows the insinuation behind that would be that is his way of challenging the current chief, the tribal chief, the head of the table, his cousin, Roman Reigns. And it's a match that I think a lot of people have been wanting to see for a while. That might have burnt out somewhat, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But The Rock, it was nice to have The Rock back. We saw Cody at the moment is currently in with a little bit of trouble with Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm into that. I think it's a really cool spot. It kind of keeps both men busy. For Cody, it's another obstacle in what he is described as a story that he's waiting to finish. So where does The Rock coming back in help Cody? Does it help Cody at all? Does it hinder Cody? What happens to his story? But yeah, interesting. Dean was saying there, I think they could have done without Jinder going on the second time and lose the crowd this side, that side. But it was a great line to end it. I think that was what, even though I think you could telegraph it, it was pretty obvious where they were going with it as soon as he started talking about where should he sit. The delivery of the line, The Rock is possibly the best person ever on the microphone in WWE. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong on that one, but I think The Rock, is always going to be there and thereabouts for that accolade. He delivered that line absolutely superbly, and you'd expect nothing less. But yeah, there was bits where they could have taken it out. I think the back and forward was a bit silly. They didn't really need that in there, especially with the way that they wanted to kind of build it as well. So I think that the line was fantastic. But yeah, you cut out the sort of crowd interaction. They were already in with it. You already kind of have the catchphrase to get them involved. So maybe it was just The Rock enjoying being out there with his people. John's not tongue-in-cheek, generally not too fussed on The Rock. I think this speaks highly of the current WWE product. And yes, it is very hot at the moment as well in WWE in general. So this, to me, I'll start this off by saying, reminds me more of the Attitude Era, where you'd have different scenarios and fans would have their favorites and fans would be wanting certain things to play out. Sometimes they wouldn't agree with it, but you'd always have this. It was almost messy in the sense that sometimes you'd have Chris Jericho, sometimes you'd have Kurt Angle, sometimes you'd have Triple H, The Rock, Stone Cold, and they kind of all intertwined. Then you'd throw in people like Undertaker and Kane. But you'd always have someone chasing the title. Now, it makes sense because at the end of the day, it's the biggest title, arguably, in the company. So you really should be having a lot of people wanting that opportunity. Where this kind of differs is, in my opinion, The Rock versus Roman Reigns does not need the title involved. It is a standalone story that they could do without it. So unless something happens at the Rumble, unless something happens at Elimination Chamber, I just don't see them having to play the story out at WrestleMania. Personally, I think the title muddies the water a little bit, because at the end of the day, if you're wanting to feud, make them feud for being that head of the table. He's already delivered that line now. The setup is there. They need to make sure that they follow through on it. And it'd be interesting to see what they do on SmackDown, where it's already confirmed that Roman Reigns would be there. In my opinion, I'd love to see that addressed. on SmackDown in some way, shape, or form. Have them in the back watching it back on the TV, or Paul Heyman can kind of come out and cut that line, and Roman Reigns can take the mic off him, and we finally hear some words about The Rock, because it's something that's never really been addressed since that Rumble where The Rock came back to put him over. So what are we looking at? I could have put that picture up while we're talking about it. Why are we talking about WrestleMania? Well, WrestleMania is only a few months away now. We do have the Royal Rumble that's coming up, and that is in Florida. And then we also have Elimination Chamber, which is across in Perth, Australia. Big rumours that Perth and Australia and their tourism board are trying to put some money behind getting The Rock to have a match there, which would make sense with what John is currently saying. Let's do Reigns versus Rock at Elimination Chamber. Reigns wins, looks top tier. Cody beats McMania, looks like Superman. And that's the point, isn't it? They've done such a great job of Cody Rhodes becoming the biggest babyface that the company's had in a long time. We've had a lot of people who were like Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, who were kind of like flip-flop between being heel and face. Since Cody Rhodes has been back, he has been the epitome of a babyface. He's very stout in his beliefs. He has what he wants to do. He doesn't kind of mess around. He doesn't, do nefarious things to win matches. He is your stereotypical babyface, and they've done a great job of keeping him that way, and keeping this like interest in 2024. As I said last week, it's very, very difficult to keep people interested in a babyface. People seem to turn on them quite quickly. People want them to fail almost. They enjoy rooting for the bad guy these days, and that wasn't the case back in the 70s and the 80s when the golden age was around, the golden era. So for me, this is the best they've actually presented a babyface in a long time, and I really don't want them to fumble now. So the match, in my opinion, that I would like to see is Cody versus Roman at WrestleMania. Let him finish that story. It is dragged on far too long. In terms of Roman Reigns, hasn't been around the last few months. Really, he's had sporadic appearances. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, that there was a stat that Roman Reigns has actually only had 12 matches or something in the last year, and that was including pay-per-views, including TV matches, and including anything on a house show. Now, he has his part-time contract, as we've seen with Brock Lesnar, etc. But for me, like, when you have a big champion like that, it's starting to take away from his reign. But that's just my opinion. Some people might still be into it, but it's got very wishy-washy with the bloodline and where Solo are and Jimmy are. It just feels like we're always kicking their boots a little bit until Roman comes back. So it'll be interesting to see which direction they go on Friday on SmackDown with Roman Reigns. But we expect this now will ramp up. We'll get an answer either way in the next couple of months, because we are going to be heading on that infamous road to WrestleMania. But in my opinion, this is the match that I would like to see the most, which is part 2, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. Let them have a banging match. Let Roman be on his own, and this finally be the moment where everyone can celebrate something as big as WrestleMania 40. It is, one of the sort of rounded numbers. They normally go big. WrestleMania 30, we saw a massive title change and a big underdog story. We've seen a lot of title changes at WrestleMania 35 in New York, even going further back, 25, 20, 15. Go check them out. There's a lot of things that happen at these sort of rounded off WrestleManias. So this is one of the options, but the other option, obviously, that kind of does rear its head is The Rock versus Roman Reigns. Now, as John said, we could see this in Elimination Chamber. That would give them roughly about, I think it's about a month and a half to build that up. It might be even slightly less. The only reason why I wouldn't want to see this at Elimination Chamber is I would want this to burn a little bit brighter. I want this to get heated up, and it would have to be a very quick heat, and we might even have to see something on Friday to get this to really keep going. It also will completely depend on The Rock's schedule. He's a busy guy in Hollywood. He has businesses all over. He has, I believe, a tequila that he has to sell. He's have to get himself in shape as well. As he's explained, I think it was last year, there were plans to bring him in at WrestleMania 39 in LA, but he didn't feel like he was ready. There wasn't a story there ready to go in the time that they had to be able to tell it. And that would suggest, to me at least, that 4, 5, maybe 6 weeks isn't enough that he wants to tell this story. At the end of the day, we haven't seen these actually interact too much over the course of their histories and their careers. There was that infamous moment, as I said, in Philly, I believe, at the Royal Rumble, where he was booed out the building, and even the Rock couldn't help him there. So yeah, let's see what they do. But this would be, I guess, the second popular option. Would we see the Rock versus Roman Reigns in April in Philadelphia at WrestleMania 40? It certainly is, from an outsider's perspective, probably the one that would get the most eyes on them from sort of mainstream media. Having the Rock on the WrestleMania card for the biggest title in the main event is going to bring you people from the outside who don't watch the product. I don't know if we're still at that kind of line of thought in WWE. Obviously, since Triple H has taken over creative, he seems to want to do things his way. He has an idea of where it's going. And maybe we just have to trust the process. But if they did want to see that ratings bump, this is an obvious choice for them to go down. As John said, they've got to boost Reigns before Mania with his lack of defenses this year, and a match with Rock at Elimination Chamber would do that. I agree. I did a stream a couple of weeks ago where we spoke about Roman Reigns being an absentee champion. And I think a lot of people are becoming a bit indifferent to him because he's not there. So it's an interesting one for Roman Reigns to have to build his stock back up, even though he's this record-breaking champion. I find it fascinating that they are going to have to do some repair work, and it's not lost on me that he's appearing on the first SmackDown of the year as well. I think he has to put in some more appearances between now and WrestleMania, regardless of who he's fighting. Dean's not a fan. I'll tell you what, he's got to stop saying, oh, that's Cody Rhodes. Okay. Cody Rhodes, so what do you want to talk about? I feel like that's obviously his way of doing the catchphrase. I'm surprised at this point it hasn't caught on with the crowd saying it back to him when he's about to say it. But it also leads from a cheap pop, so it kind of gives Cody Rhodes that chance to get the name of the city that they're in anyway. Reigns and Solo versus Rock and Stone Cold. I mean, it'd be an interesting way, but having two very part-time and guys who have not been in the ring properly for years on the same team, I know that would be a dream for you, Dean. But I'm not sure the logistics of that match would particularly make for interesting viewing. Remove that belt from the photo and you can do Reigns versus Rock. If that match happens with the belts, it's pointless. As you know, Rock won't win. He ain't going to do a title run, I'm afraid. It's a very good point, to be fair. Yeah, when you look at it from that perspective, is he likely to do anything post-Mania? Is he likely to be doing anything in between? How quickly would he have to drop the belt? Yeah, lots of questions that would be asked about. So as I said earlier, this is a match I would love to see. I just don't want the title involved because it would be telegraphed. I think it's the way of The Rock putting over Roman. Personally, it's 2 years too late for me. I think this is something that should have solidified Roman as the head of the table. He's done that job on his own. He hasn't needed The Rock. If anything, at the moment, I think The Rock needs us a little bit more. So, yeah, it's interesting timing on that front. We saw him a few weeks back on the SmackDown show where he came out with Pat McAfee on that one. So he has started becoming a little bit more regular. But, I mean, in some respects, as Dean's saying there, Reigns is more part-time than The Rock. It's hard to argue with that over the last few weeks because Roman's not been around. He was only around for 2 weeks in a row because they filmed it back to back because of the Christmas break. He actually doesn't have any big movies lined up for once, so maybe he is clearing his schedule a little bit. We obviously have had the writer's strike, the actor's strike, etc. So there is a backlog of things that have to go on before movies can start their production again. And also, I think maybe The Rock's taking a little bit of time out after the stuff around Shazam and Black Adam. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes after wrestling. I don't know if it's actually happened already, but I knew he was due to make an announcement about the XFL with the NFL, and maybe there was going to be some sort of merger there. But he's very busy with that side of things as well. So he's a busy guy. I'm just putting it out there. If there was a match at Elimination Chamber between The Rock and Roman, who's to say that The Rock won't win there and then defend at WrestleMania against Cody Rhodes? So here's another curveball for you. would you be interested in seeing Cody Rhodes finish a story against The Rock at WrestleMania instead? It would certainly be a very different direction to go, and one that I'm not sure has been discussed too much, because I don't think people are putting too much stock in the fact that Roman would drop the belt at Elimination Chamber. It would be a bizarre way to end a record-breaking title reign, and for me, it personally feels like this is a match that I would like to see, but not with any kind of big jeopardy on it, because that would mean that Roman's dropped the title in Australia at a sort of B pay-per-view. Yes, it's in a stadium and they're trying to build those up, but if you're going to do it, it has to be one of the big four for me. So let me know, what do you think? The Rock versus Cody Rhodes, would you be interested in that? As I can see that Martin has joined us. What's up, dude? Hope you had a lovely Christmas, New Year. Same to you, my friend. Happy New Year to you. First stream of the year, and it's on a random Thursday night instead of a Friday. But thank you for joining. I believe Martin is going to be in Philly, so I'm looking forward to meeting up with him, hopefully there. It'd be great to see anyone who is around in Philadelphia, no matter what the main event is. And finally, who's to say we couldn't get a triple threat at WrestleMania? It would be, as I believe someone said earlier on, might have been John or Dean. Just trying to look. It was Dean who said maybe The Rock's there to protect Reigns in the long run, and he's the one who takes the pin off Cody. It would muddy the waters slightly of Cody Rhodes' story. If, in my opinion, it would be an interesting way to keep The Rock versus Roman for like a one-on-one match later at some point down the line, to say, you cost me my record-breaking title, I'm the head of the table, all those kind of things. There's a lot they could play into. So that would be an interesting option to have. But again, let me know in the comments, do you think having a triple threat would muddy that story for Cody? Do you think he would care? Is it one that, as long as he was the one who has the fireworks as he walks out of Philadelphia and Lincoln Field, Lincoln Financial Field, that he is the one holding the belt? Does it matter how he gets it? Does he just have to have it? Does it matter who he goes against? Lots of questions there, but let me know in the comments. Is a triple threat something you'd want to see? So, as I said, lots and lots of different scenarios to kind of play out, but I've named 4 of them there. That's without really introducing the Rumble or the Elimination Chamber, because quite frankly, at the moment, Cody's tied up with Shinsuke. The Rock's delivered one killer line, and Roman has not really had any kind of match for a long time. So I'm really interested to hear, after kind of talking through those scenarios, what you guys would most want to see moving forward. So I'm not going to be staying on too long tonight. So let me know in the comments while I'm kind of just waffling. I did watch NXT last night as well, which I thought was fantastic, even without Trick versus Ilya Dragunov, which was billed until the night. I thought the show was great. I thought Raw was great. I do genuinely believe that WWE is on fire at the moment. You look at the crowds that are coming, you see the noise. Even for people like Dominic Mysterio, the crowd are into it, and everyone is talking about what they want to see moving forward, which is how it should be. You want people talking about the product. I believe there's supposed to be a big announcement tonight, and there was a big announcement earlier on. Money in the Bank is going to Canada in July, so they're going to get both Money in the Bank and SmackDown. I think they might even be getting another event as well, so they'll be sticking around there. So they're going international again. So lots of things to look forward to already announced in 2024. Of course, there's going to be Bash in Berlin. We're going to see Money in the Bank in Canada. We're going to have one in France as well, in that brand new arena. So yeah, they're moving around quite a lot. There we go. Martin to the rescue. NXT Heatwave is going to be in Canada as well on Money in the Bank weekend. So there's that, was announced today. I don't know if the Triple H announcement that's going to be happening in a few hours' time is anything to do with that. It'd be strange if it was, because they billed it being some sort of announcement. So stay tuned and we'll find out if maybe that's what we'll be talking about next week. It'll be some, the rumors have been rife. What are they going to buy TNA? That was debunked by some places. So it'll be interesting to see what Triple H does deliver tonight and how they do it, because they have got people like CM Punk, Bianca Belair, Ilya Dragunov's due to be on there, which would be an interesting one because he wasn't on NXT last night. So it'll be interesting to see who they do present It'd be really interesting to see if there is a different kind of announcement. As I say, I'm not 100% sure, but it was billed that Triple H would do it on that. It would be strange if he's jumped the gun and done it on his Twitter rather than talk about it tonight exclusively, because they didn't let you know on Monday. So yeah, very interested to see how they do the announcement tonight. But we're going to wrap it up there. It's been great having a few of you on. Always great to see comments. Really enjoy hearing from people. Triple H announcement has to be about Kevin Dunn's. I don't think they would outright address a producer being replaced, unless it was like a big name or there's some sort of like big shakeup. I don't think that's something they would announce as a big thing, because this is something that they're presenting as like a press conference, I believe. So I think there's it'll be something public showing side of things. It'll be very much in character, I would have thought. Yeah, those are things that are supposedly happening. Michael Cole is no longer on the three-man booth on SmackDown. He's just going to be on Raw. So there's kind of different bits and pieces moving. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how we get on in 2024. But this has been 2024's first Wrestling Royalty stream. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see what we're going to get as we go through the year. But this is a big talking point to start the year. Let me know in the comments if you haven't said anything. If you're watching this in the future, drop your comment in. What match would you most like to see as a WrestleMania main event? We've of course got the other nights that could be Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. Is that something you'd want to see? Is there a chance that someone pulls double duty on WrestleMania weekend? Does Roman go against both The Rock and Cody? Let's see how we get on there. But yeah, for now, it's just me tonight. So I've been Andy. This has been Wrestling Royalty.